been an excessive use of the word daddy in here lately.
I like it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. In today's video, we're going to cover my responses to a poll I took for new players. This video is going to largely focus on team PvP fights from a cleric perspective, best practices, positioning, and other critical aspects of team PvP. But before we hop into that, let's break down the poll and the responses. I asked everyone what area of the game was giving them the most trouble currently. Here's a quick view of the results at the time of this recording. So before we hop into the PvP, let's break this down. If you are in the 22% of respondents who are having trouble with monsters on level 1 or level 2 of the dungeon, my advice is stay on course. Focus on your fundamentals and make sure you are bringing plenty of healing items into the dungeons. Elite monsters on level 2 have more complex movesets. Learning them is about experience. Don't get discouraged. I'm excited to see that so many of you are working on bosses at this point in your journey. 27% of respondents are saying that they're having trouble with bosses. I'm assuming that you guys have already watched some of the excellent guides that are available on YouTube, and they are not working for you just yet. I want to set your expectations quickly and clearly. Learning a new boss fight in Dark and Darker is likely going to take you dozens of attempts across many hours of play before you get your first kill. In many cases, it's not the boss mechanics which are really the hurdle. It's your positioning relative to the boss. So try rewatching some of those guides again, but with a focus on your spacing, how you're moving around the boss. If that doesn't work, I've had a lot of success coaching new players to get their first boss kills. Consider swinging by my Discord, link in the description below, and scheduling a coaching session. We will be analyzing 2 PvP fights today. While this is recorded from my point of view on the Cleric, I'm going to be discussing the fight from a big picture perspective and calling special attention to why the team is using certain abilities or positioning at various times. As always, I'm going to let the entire clip play out with full audio. Then we'll slow it down, break it down, and discuss analysis of the fight afterwards. The team comp and each character build and loadout will be included in the final chapter of today's video.
Players here.
Our ranger's down.
Bind.
What?
Rogue's low.
Come back, your boys are dead. Come back.
I'm gonna go back and risk Kiggs.
Yep.
I didn't realize the rogue had opened on me too.
I didn't see him until it was too late for me to do anything about it. I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing you can do. It just happened so fast. I knew that I was far enough away from the bard, and then I thought I got hit by the bard. That's why I was shocked. Next one over to the right.
Nice fighting the boss below.
I got a sink, and then I could use a fire.
I'm coming. There's one down. 10%.
we played that really well. What did we trade?
Yeah.
1 for 5?
Yeah. Oh, we know I killed the last one, so 1 for 6.
Nice.
Yeah, I killed that rogue.
Okay, so that was a great fight for which we were the aggressors. I'm going to walk back through it now, stopping at critical breakpoints to discuss what we did to achieve victory there, what contributed to it, why our positioning was the way it was, and how we came back in the second half of that extended fight to kind of reclaim advantage when we were being pushed by surprise by the second team.
There's here.
So Kovac hears players operating nearby in the area. We know that there's a bard because we heard him. We immediately think about how we can create advantage. I'm going to cast protection proactively on the group and drink a blue pot. This preserves 3 additional charges of my protection spell. And we head in. So a few things to talk about here. First of all, I allowed Kovac to go in first, followed by Kiggs. We're entering a giant room with a lot of open spaces. I want my ranger to be able to be effective at projecting force, so I am out of the way. Also, we see the players, the enemy team on the far side, and we're immediately able to identify the bard, which we heard before, a fighter, and a ranger. Now, all 3 of those enemies can project force at this range effectively. We only have 2 on our team who can do that. Kovac on the fighter and Kiggs on the ranger. I have no spell or utility that is really going to assist us in projecting damage downfield. Right? So here I'm going to make an interesting decision. I am going to stay close to my team so I can support them with my defensive spells while beginning a flank to the right. I am anticipating the enemy team to move behind this pillar here or to fall back to one of the 2 doorways across the room. I want to be able to deny them the space behind that pillar so my ranger and my fighter can be the most effective. All right, and we've made contact. We are now in melee. Ideally, we'd be killing the ranger first, but he's well positioned over there, outside of our melee range. Kovac used his sprint to close ground and get into melee with the bard as quickly as possible. You'll notice my protection spell is still on him, meaning he's taken very little damage while closing. This is a fantastic opportunity because now I can take an offensive action. I don't need to worry about Kovac's health or refreshing his protection spell, and I choose to judge the bard. The bard was able to land a Shriek of Weakness on Kovac, so I'm very sensitive to his health. Here, our plan is to tunnel the bard down and get him dead ASAP. Then, my plan would be to move to the ranger.
Our ranger's down.
So a bunch of things happened at the same time right there. While Kovac and I were both tunneling down the bard, Kiggs kills the ranger. That's because Kiggs was able to successfully outduel him at range, suppressing his fire against myself and Kovac, and doing a lot of damage while we closed ground and then once the melee combat broke out. Another important thing, the enemy fighter has just popped his second wind ability. Kovac is at half health, but right now has not used his. Kovac still has a cooldown advantage on this fighter. It's now a 3v1. It's over. You'll also see that I stepped forward into the enemy fighter to present myself as a target in the hopes of pulling some of his attack and focus away from the injured Kovac towards myself. Bind. Okay, the amigos are in trouble. While we were cleaning up the initial fight, we have been pushed from behind by a barbarian and a bard. That is what I'm aware of, and I'm solely focused right now on the fact that both Kiggs and Kovac, my ranger and my fighter, are below half health. What we're going to see here is Kovac wisely using his second wind ability as I just dump as much healing into him as I can to help him survive like the terrible alpha damage that is being done by the Barbarian and the Bard. Kiggs also took a nice chunk as they initiated from behind, from what I think was a crossbow shot from the Bard, but I'm not entirely sure. Also, with the benefit of hindsight, we can see the legs of the cheeky rogue as he begins his flank around to murder poor Kiggs.
What?
So I've got to congratulate that rogue. That was a really well executed flank. He got on Kiggs and burned him down. Both Kovac and I only becoming aware of it really when it was too late for us to do anything. Too late for me to heal Kiggs, too late for me to shield Kiggs, too late for either of us to really peel for him. So our Ranger's down. It's now a 3v2 in their favor. The good news is Kovac did turn and punish the rogue. He got 2 falchion strikes. At least one of them was a headshot, so the rogue is now significantly wounded. Also, the Barbarian is really low, but I'm continuing to view the Barbarian as the chief threat to our ability to win this fight. The next tactical objective in my mind is to bring down the Barbarian, and that is why when he closed, I immediately judged him. Even if he were to survive the judgment, which he did not, he would be snared, which would allow Kovac and I to continue to back up and lick our wounds as we're doing here, with some more heals and some more protection. In review of that trade scenario back there, I put about 100 points of healing into Kovac in combination with his second wind, which allowed him to live and outtrade the Barbarian to a point where we once again had advantage. Now, just a quick note about my positioning out there in the middle of the last room. I was kind of dancing around, creating space and forcing both the rogue and the bard to look at me as a target. I'm hoping to soak damage for Kovac. If they stick around and don't flee, we win this fight. They have to create space. And if they suddenly get a little bloodlust and say, look, we can angle on the Cleric, then I've bought enough time for Kovac to step up and defeat both of them. Right now, we're both at 80% health, and they are likely lower. So we're in a really good spot here. As we're coming through the door, I deliberately stop. I'm going to get hit by the Shriek of Weakness, but Kovac is not. This puts us in a really good position, and we win this fight.
Come back, your boys are dead. Come back.
Okay, and as you've already seen, the fight is essentially over. We won. We traded 1 for 6. A great fight, not only from the team, but from me. In this next clip, you're going to see the team continue to play really well, but I am going to play very poorly. While you watch this first clip through, at normal volume and with no commentary, try to pick out the myriad of mistakes I make in both play and positioning. We'll cover it in analysis afterwards. Also, let's note here, after a successful fight, we always go through the same maneuver. We reset. Res up the dead, heal up, drop a fire, full reset every time.
Oh, we know I killed the last one. 1 for 6. Nice. Yeah, I killed that rogue. Moving towards the pyramid.
Player here.
Really good gloves here, Kiggs. Get these gloves quick. The skeleton.
That's our ranger.
Skeleton in the hole. Those are real good.
He just went through that door.
Behind me, behind me. He's dead.
There's a barbarian yell east.
Other player in south. Hit him in the nuts with a torch.
Behind.
Ranger dead.
Nice.
Sharp dead.
One. Yeah. We're good.
Sing, sing, sing.
Yep, I got it.
That was a little farther. Good counter engage. Everybody stay cool.
Hey, we're
Yeah, jump on this. Double warp. It's fucking terrible. Oh my god.
like attacking more players. Careful, Bruce, careful. I got smoked, I gotta back out.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Jesus.
Fire.
Feel that you just run?
Come in here. The wizard's over here. So, I shot him a couple times. He's hurt.
I took that right to the face. Bandaging in this hole. Careful.
Nice kill.
Taking fire.
No, I shot you in the foot.
Thank
It's
you.
me.
Drop it on me, Daddy.
All right, I got you.
So let's see if you caught all of the mistakes I made this run. There are so many. I don't remember if I was recording this late at night or if I'd had too much or too little caffeine. I don't really remember. So mistake one, I'm going to walk here into this room, a room that we don't know what's going on in, and I'm going to waste a cooldown. Great. Now I have a cooldown disadvantage. There could be a group of 3 players right around the corner. There's not. But I got lucky. In general, hold your cooldowns. Save them for players when you don't know if you're operating around players. Mistake number 2. There's a ranger over there in the dark. He appears to be isolated at a minimum, perhaps even alone. I should have pressured him at a minimum, or at least kept eyes on him to figure out what was going on.
Those are real good.
I didn't. Mistake number 3. I'm hanging out over here watching some skeletons pace around and seeing a spider pot. Then I start PvEing for reasons I don't understand. I'm clearing a spider pot while these guys are fighting somebody behind me. Watch this. Mistake number 4 and 5. I missed 2 big heals on Kovac, hitting skeletons both times. Now I have to top them off using a sanctuary. I have very little heals. If a fight were about to break out, I'd be really sweating whether or not I'd have enough healing to keep us up. And guess what?
Barbarian east.
A fight's about to break out.
Other player in south.
All right, getting the shields up first. So here we are getting pushed by a team, 2 barbarians and a ranger. This team has a ton of upfront damage, but our comp is one that can deal with it. The enemy ranger attempts to land some chip damage on Kovac, but falls back to make room for his barbarians to push in and take point. What they're trying to achieve, they want to burst DPS one of us down and turn the fight into a 3v2 in their favor as quickly as possible. So the barbarians come bursting into the room, and they are both focusing Kovac. I've positioned the side close enough to support Kovac on our front line, close enough to open with a judgment on Barbarian 1, the one who's wearing the Grand Brigandine chest piece. I'm also close enough to pressure Barbarian 2 and draw his focus away from Kovac, even momentarily. In a tighter frame, we've now completely blunted their push. I did significant damage to Barbarian 1 and snared him with my judgment, which also contributed to Barbarian 2's loss of focus on Kovac. He's now looking at me, so I pivot 90 degrees, step out of range of his axe. I'm able to then step back while landing a headshot on both Barbarian number 2 and the Ranger. So unrelated to what I'm doing, in the background, Kiggs is standing behind me looking for angles to get shots. Kovac has popped his second wind. The enemy team now knows that they're in trouble. They did not get a kill in their initial push. They've burned their cooldowns, and for reasons I can't explain, they have a ton of PvE following them around. I stow my weapons and decide to zigzag through traffic. I want to make sure they can't door, or failing that, I want to judge them through the door. I line up again on Barbarian 1. The one I hit earlier, I open the door for Kovac to enter. The front line's reestablished, we've got them on the run, and here I start making more mistakes. So for mistakes 6, 7, and 8 here, I'm going to take 3 shots from this ranger I have no business taking. I should have been able to block at least 1 or 2 of them. I did not block at a high enough angle. When you're blocking against a ranger or anyone using a missile weapon, make sure to block slightly up to deny them the headshots. But don't worry, dear viewer, this is where I begin my redemption arc. So I'm getting head faked over here. This is Barbarian 1 again in the Grand Brigandine. He wants to try to get a side attack, but he's really low health, so he backs out as soon as he sees me. I hear Barbarian 2 coming up behind Kiggs, and he gives a battle shout that gives him away. I all in this guy. My objective here is to just stop him from getting to Kiggs, and I get really lucky. Not even close, right? But we have now cleaned up this team. And of course, we're going to reset.
Sing.
Yep, I got it.
Like attacking more players.
Yep, so no sooner had we gotten the campfire off, we hear more players right around the corner. I'm shielding myself in preparation. I get a shield on Kovac. It immediately gets knocked off by the enemy ranger, and so I reestablish the shield, and I make mistake number 9. I have fundamentally overextended our front line. Kovac did not push into the magic missile fire from the wizard. The fighter standing right in front of me is holding a parry posture like he wants to fight Kovac, and that's the only reason I didn't die right here. I have positioned myself between the enemy ranged units, the ranger and the wizard, keeping their fighter between me and them. But Kovac did not advance at the same pace, and I have put our entire push in jeopardy by overextending here.
Careful, Bruce, careful.
Fortunately, my teammates are here to cover for my mistake. Kovac pushes back up in front of me. The enemy ranger is being pressured by Kiggs, who is working the right flank, trying to land shots into the enemy wizard and the enemy ranger. He repositions. Kovac's able to push forward, and when I see the ranger crossing in front of my line of sight, I land a judgment on him. Kovac unfortunately triggers a parry off the longsword warrior, and he has to back out. I decide to continue to pressure the fighter for just a second to create space and then get a sanctuary off. Now, this is helping our team more than them, but I am healing that enemy fighter in the process. Now, time for mistake number 10. I'm continuing to play this fight too fast and too aggressively. The ranger is dead. It was knocked down to low health by a combination of Kig's withering missile fire and my judgment. He backed up into AI and a skeleton took him out. That's great news for us and a little bit of luck because I am once again out of position playing too aggressively. I am attempting to swing to the left and over the guard of this longsword warrior so I can drag my Morningstar hit back through him. What you're going to see is he is going to successfully get a parry off, and he almost kills me with the riposte.
Oh, shit, sorry.
So as you can see, I almost threw that fight two different ways by mispositioning and playing too aggressively when we should have been players slower. I also start to put a fire down here without realizing that Kiggs has not yet finished the mage. So here's the mage over here. Everybody's in a pretty good spot. I'm assuming he's pretty low health. I'm going to dip and dive a little bit here. Try to take some damage. He stays locked on Kovac. And then I'm assuming one judgment is going to be enough to take him out, and it is.
No, I shot you in the foot.
Boy. Thanks, team, for the hard carry. And that's a contrast of two different fights. The team played well in both. I played well in the first, and I played terrible in the second one.
Right,
but good teamwork was able to compensate all the way around. I really hope you enjoyed this analysis of good cleric, bad cleric. And if you did, kindly give the video a like and consider subscribing. If you're interested in getting some coaching and improving in the game, swing by our Discord and take a look. I'm always happy to help new players as they become intermediate and then advanced. Also, at the end of this video, I will include a quick loadout and perks and skills for all three of the amigos featured in this video. If you'd like to see more of this, again, please like and subscribe. And until next time, Koopa out.
There's been an excessive use of the word daddy in here lately.
I like it.